Are you an empathic IFS therapist or practitioner wishing you to be more effective in practicing IFS? If so, I'm glad to see you here because the content I'm about to share could be insightful to you. Hi, this is Ayan Farvahar. I am a certified IFS practitioner and the author of IFS Tips and Practice Skills, a book written for my fellow IFS therapists and practitioners or psychologists who practice parts work. My book is non-clinical but fairly advanced in IFS topics. To help you get familiar with its content and structure, I created an overview presentation as a walkthrough of its table of contents. I hope you find this presentation insightful. I want to wish you the best in your IFS journey, and most importantly, in your personal and professional life. Blessings and best wishes. As I mentioned, the name of my book is IFS Tips and Practice Skills, an unofficial guidebook for IFS therapists and practitioners. You can find more information about the book and how to order it by visiting my website ayanfarvahar.com. But who can benefit from this book? This book can be helpful to you if you are an empathic IFS therapist or practitioner looking to expand your IFS knowledge and skills, or if you find some of your clients challenging to work with, even making you doubt your skills or ability to help them, or if you feel exhausted and drained after your IFS sessions with challenging clients and wonder why that happens. Before we begin, I would like to express my deepest gratitude to senior IFS trainers C. Sykes, Ann Cinco, and Ralph Cohen for their gracious time and openness to review and endorse this book. I truly feel honored to be blessed by my teachers and consider their endorsements as an affirmation of the value of this book as a small contribution to IFS and its sacred healing mission. I'm also thankful to my mentor, C. Michael Smith, Jungian psychologist and shamanic teacher, for writing the foreword for my book and for his illuminating psychoshamanic teachings that deepened my understanding of the psyche. Why this book was written? This book was written to answer the following question. What does separate a highly skilled and confident IFS practitioner from another who, despite having a solid foundation in IFS, may not feel as effective in its practice? The answer to this question lies in what I call the 4 pillars of self-led IFS practice. To become a self-led IFS therapist or practitioner, you need to understand parts and their inner psychology, establish a trusting therapeutic relationship, cultivate a natural connection to self, and acquire part-specific practice skills. These collectively represent the 4 pillars of self-led IFS practice. The book is structured in 4 parts, collectively representing the 4 pillars of self-led IFS practice. Part 1 is focused on understanding parts and their inner psychology, basically how parts view and interpret the world and react to their experiences. Part 2 is focused on cultivating a trusting therapeutic relationship. Stating it differently, how can we establish and safeguard a self-led therapeutic relationship? Part 3 is focused on cultivating a natural connection to self. Basically, how can we take a step beyond unblending and develop a more organic and natural connection to self. And part 4 is focused on part-specific tips and practice skills. Basically, how to work effectively with more challenging parts and intricate systems. Let's go over the table of contents and review the topics covered in each of these 4 parts. This is an overview of the table of contents. As you can see, I made the table of contents granular to help with the navigation of rather diverse topics covered in this book. Part 1 has the following 5 chapters. Chapter 1 is focused on parts, what they are, how they are formed, why we have them, and how they relate to self. Chapter 2 is focused on inner psychology of parts and how exiles and protectors view and interpret their experiences differently. Parts inner psychology reveals the anatomy of trauma and how a difficult experience becomes a trauma. Chapter 3 is focused on psychology of healing and how healing has a different meaning and requirements in exiles and protectors. We also see the link between healing and parts needs and how healing becomes possible when those needs are met in relationship to self. Chapter 4 is focused on protectors and how they interact with each other and arrange themselves in the protective layers of the psyche. In addition to being either a manager or a firefighter, protectors can be either externally focused, monitoring the external world and the people we interact with, or internally focused, monitoring other parts and what goes on in our inner world. Protectors may take a role as frontline managers and be a gatekeeper of the system and always online. They could otherwise become a backend or deeper protector and keep an eye on the exiles and the frontline managers. The last chapter of part 1 is focused on additional classification of burdens, which could be insightful in IFS practice. Burdens can vary by their originating source. Some are native, as they are caused by difficult experiences in our personal and biographical life. But some burdens are non-native, as they are not linked to our personal experiences and are therefore feel puzzling and foreign to our parts. Legacy burdens and unattached burdens are examples of what I call non-native burdens. Burdens can also vary by parts age. This is because burdens are usually caused by parts needs that were denied and unmet, and parts needs vary by age. Knowing the age of a burden part can be very insightful in IFS practice. Part 2 has the following 3 chapters. Chapter 6 is focused on the importance of transference in therapeutic relationship and why noticing and meeting the transference needs of a client is the foundation of a trusting therapeutic relationship. Chapter 7 is focused on parts-led therapeutic relationship and how to avoid that. We go over potential practitioner or personal parts which may emerge in your IFS sessions and how they can diminish your ability to remain self-led and helpful to your clients. Chapter 8 is focused on therapeutic effectiveness of IFS practice and why it often plateaus over time. Therapeutic relationships can over time be affected by what I call inner work fatigue and the loss of hope in the client's systems. Once that happens, the IFS sessions become stale and turned to routine parts check-ins with no meaningful progress towards self-leadership. Practitioners must notice this state and help their clients shift out of that by keeping hope alive in their systems. This chapter also highlights the responsibilities of both practitioners and clients in IFS work, and how important it is for practitioners to know their responsibilities and help their clients understand and own theirs. Part 3 has the following 3 chapters. Chapter 9 is focused on self as the archetypal center of the psyche, and how self has humanistic, psychological, and transpersonal manifestations, depending on what parts need. Chapter 10 is focused on unblending as a part-focused technique to access self. We review the mechanics of unblending and notice the parts that are involved in unblending. We also highlight the downside of excessive and habitual unblending and how that can lead to the emergence of self-like frontline managers, blocking the organic emergence of self. In this chapter, we also go over a few markers to distinguish self from self-like managers. Chapter 11 describes what I call a self-focused access to self. Self-focused access to self involve a set of daily practices that awaken self in our system. I personally use these practices on a daily basis and attest to their effectiveness in accessing self more naturally and effortlessly. In my view, these daily practices are a complement to unblending and a prerequisite to self-leadership. Part 4 has 4 chapters. Chapter 12 is focused on a set of do's and don'ts in IFS practice based on my experience. In any IFS session, we always work with a system, even when focusing on one part at a time. When engaging this system, everything we do or don't do matters and sets the course of that session. Chapter 13 is focused on more challenging parts that carry native burdens. As mentioned, native burdens are burdens that are caused by emotionally adverse experiences in one's biographical life. To work with these burdens, we need to understand the nature of those experiences and the transference needs that were denied through them. The list of parts covered in this chapter are shown here. Chapter 14 is focused on non-native burdens. Non-native burdens are burdens that have transferred to parts from what I call transpersonal fields of experience. These fields can be collective or cultural, ancestral or intergenerational, or even impersonal or archetypal. We need to understand the non-native origin of these burdens, why parts carry them, and what keeps them in the system. Non-native burdens can be legacy burdens, unattached burdens or UBs, or a combination of them. Through my experience working with UBs for many years, I've devised an accessible protocol to work with them more effortlessly and with confidence. Chapter 15 is focused on the topic of resourcing. It explains what resourcing is and when it can be beneficial to our clients. The use of resourcing is generally not advised in IFS practice. However, there are instances when self is not easily accessible in the client system. In such instances, initiating self-like resources can invite higher self-energy and serve as a catalyst to the natural emergence of self. When accessible, self-like resources such as guides, parental archetypal figures, or spiritually meaningful figures can be helpful to the clients. Resourcing has a downside and needs to be used discreetly and only when absolutely necessary. In addition, practitioners need to look for opportunities to phase out self-like resources when self becomes available in their clients' systems. The book also has a rich appendix, a glossary of common terms, and an index. The appendix includes an unofficial refresher of IFS basics based on my understanding and examples of direct access and polarization parts work, as well as an example of my UB protocol and language described in the book. This concludes my brief overview of the content shared in my book, IFS Tips and Practice Skills. If you wish to get a copy of my book, to work or consult with me, or to be notified of my future IFS workshop offerings, consider joining my email list by visiting my website, ayhanfarvahar.com. Blessings and best wishes.